Fine. Let us start some basic things which we are about to discuss in the unit 4, where this unit 4 is in such a simple unit as we have gone for third unit. Similarly, the fourth unit also is the simplest one, where we have only the two topics, but somewhat second half has been little bit, it may take more number of classes. This one or two classes, not more than that, extra than compared to that of the third unit. So it can be done in around 6 to 7 classes. The fourth unit can be completed. So in that is a simple unit it is. Where coming to the unit 4, where we have two topics in this. The first topic which we are going to discuss is the helix traveling wave tube. This is the first half part. And the next half part which we are about to discuss is the magnetron, second half. So this may take 1 or 2 classes extra than compared to that of the first half part. If you take 3, it may take 4 to 5. So it may take 2 to 3 classes. We'll be completing this one. And it may take just 4 classes or 3 classes, whatever it may be case. 6 to 7 is been more than enough. Okay. So keeping in view that, you can notice that to what extent it has been easy, okay, to work out. Because while taking the classes physically, where we need to take the attendance, where here also we can take the attendance, but I don't want to waste the time by taking the attendance over here. And I think that I trust you that you'll be listening the class properly from starting to the end. And there it takes a time to draw the circuitry which we draw on the board. So that time, it has been a time consuming process. Now you are very much familiar with the online classes, which has been a worse situation we are facing right now. So we have to work out with this online classes, and with the same, it takes very less amount of time, because it will be a very much serious whenever we work out with enough online classes. So the class is will be going on smoothly, because as you will be concentrating on the class work, and thereby I'll be working with the topic. Okay. So this is the first half part of the fourth unit, and this is the second half part of the fourth unit, where, as I've told, the third unit, it works on O-type tubes. Okay, third unit entire works on O-type tube, and the fourth unit, it is also considered to be of an O-type tube, traveling wave tube, helix traveling wave tube. I'll be explaining what is the basic concept over here, why it is been named with this particular given structure. And here, but whereas the magnetron, it is being a crossed field. Crossed field type of tubes are M type of tubes. Okay. So where both the fields will be get crossed each other, we'll see the details while we discuss the topic magnetron over there. And now we are about to discuss the helix traveling wave tube, which is the next topic of O-type tube, which is the continuation, the basic principles and the basic definitions of the third unit, the microwave tubes, which we have discussed. The reflex klystron and the two cavity klystron amplifier. Will be making use of few concepts of those two tubes and to work out with the helix traveling wave tube. Okay. So before proceeding with the traveling wave tube, so we have to discuss some basic definitions and basic points. Why we have to discuss about this traveling wave tube? What are the problems which we have faced in the earlier? And how come this particular topic, traveling wave tube, will overcome the limitations which is being exhibited by the previous two type of tubes? Okay. First case, we have observed that the first traveling, that is in a two cavity klystron amplifier and reflex klystron, both are resonant circuits. Both are resonant circuits. So it is nothing but it's some circuits which will provide a very less amount of impedance. Okay, the circuits which provide less amount of impedance can be considered to be a resonant circuit. okay, for a certain frequencies. So we have seen that operating frequency of the two cavity and reflex klystron as well. Based upon that, to stick on that particular operating frequency, it provides a very less amount of impedance, input impedance. Okay, so because of that, it won't remain stable. Okay, there is a chance of change of some frequency values over there. The central frequency, the operating frequency may affect because of having the low impedance. Okay, that is low impedance value. So such a circuits can be considered as a resonant circuits. Okay, so these resonant circuits have possibility of fluctuating its frequency values. And whereas because of that, the gain bandwidth product, whatever we have seen, the gain bandwidth product, so this should have enough value. Okay, it should have some enough value. It depends upon the type of tube, where in order to achieve this gain bandwidth product to some constant value or to a standard value, so these resonant circuits may create a problem of fluctuating frequency. So as the frequency will be fluctuated because of having low impedance value, so the gain bandwidth product value may fluctuate. Okay, even it can affect the gain bandwidth product value. So this may leads to a limited amplification. So it may leads to a limited amplification. So in order to achieve or in order to increase more amount of the amplification, we need to go for non-resonant circuits. We have to go for non-resonant circuits where it avoids the fluctuating of frequency or avoids the having low input impedance. Okay, so by using this non-resonant circuits, the amplification will be continuous. It will be having a continuous amplification. That is, we can say that exponential. In terms of, we can say that it has exponential increase of amplification can be achieved by non-resonant circuits. Okay, so one of the best example which we are going to discuss about non-resonant circuits is nothing but traveling wave tube. So this is a non-resonant circuit which we are preferring to know its working functionality. This is the first half part of the fourth unit. So that's what now we'll discuss in detail. Before going to the details about this non-resonant circuit, we'll see, we'll justify why the name it is being given as a helix. What does it mean? What is an helix? Why it is being named as a helix over there? Okay, so now I think you have got an idea. You have got an idea that why we are preferring the traveling wave tube then compared to the top of the first two cases of the third unit, that is two cavity klystron amplifier and reflex klystron. Okay, so this is a non-resonant circuit which can provide the exponentially increase in amplification can be achieved using this traveling wave tube. Now I'm going to reveal that why it is being named as helix and why it is being called as traveling wave tube. Okay, we will see the major differences. So before going to the discussion of traveling wave tube, let me explain that what is meant by this helix and why it is being, this term is being added to the traveling wave tube. Okay, so previously also just I was telling you, if I am fast, please you can stop me so that if you want to repeat, I can repeat it to you. Okay. Okay, fine. If there is no problem, so I'll be keep on continuing the things. Now let us proceed. What is this helix traveling wave tube? Where in case of traveling wave tube, I'll be justifying why it is being called as a traveling wave. And before that, I'll be clarifying what is meant by helix. Okay. Can any one of you tell me that what do you understand by the helix? Helix. Can any one of you tell me that? What is this helix? What do you understand by the term helix? I want the answers from most of you only. Just don't log in and sit ideally and wait for the answers. And try to view whether it's been wrong also. I won't point out, but trying is the best solution so that you can learn something. It shows the thinking ability or the attention towards the class you are facing it. So few then started answering by what, but I want more responses from you, your side, because it should be some interaction, interactive class, not like one side. That's what I've told in the previous class. Okay, I'm getting response. I want another students to get respond. Also, I need to take the responses from other students also. Please respond. It is a general term. What is in a helix? And don't open the dictionary and to see the respective definition for that helix through by using your mobiles. And don't do like that. Whatever you have, whatever you are thinking about the helix, let me put it on the chat box. I'm waiting for the responses and do it fast. I have to move to the topic back. Okay, still I need more responses and give it in a personal. Like I'm receiving some from the respective students individually. You can put it as some individual responses. No problem from my side. Let it be a wrong or a right. Okay. Why the strength has been less than 39 maximum? In the morning it was 48, but now it has been gone to 39. I told you that we'll be discussing the fourth unit, which is an important one. So one of the student has been responded as foil in the form of winding. Others it is like in a wire in spiral shape, and the other response is in a circular wound type, which is some material in AWP. What is this AWP and helix? Yeah, you have come across in the AWP and fine. In case of antennas, you have made use of helical antenna. Okay, it looks the same thing. Fine, and the helical antenna which you have made use is enough. It's a spring-like structure. Okay, in the pens you will be using in a spring-like structure. Na? Similarly, the helix is of a similarly it is being used in this particular tube, traveling wave tube. Okay, so why it is being used now we are about to discuss. Now, thank you, and good responses I have got, but still they have the more responses to be recorded. Finally, so to proceed further, the helix is nothing but it's a spring-like structure which is being wounded whenever the wire is being wounded to some circular type circular type material. Then whatever the shape it is being found by the wire which is being wounded on the circular structure, that particular shape is to be considered as the helical structure. Okay, so now we'll be making use of the same structure here. Now what is this structure? Okay, so here you can observe in case of resonant circuits, that is two cavity and a reflex klystron. you can observe in both the case, where I am comparing here both the cases, two cavity. In case of two cavity klystron amplifiers, we can see that there are two cavities. Okay, there are two cavities we have got, and another to take enough output. Okay, there is enough input which is being given, and there is enough output which is being taken out. Okay, and you can find that there is enough one more cavity like this, and this is in a tube actually. Okay, so this is the tube. Okay, two cavity klystron wave, and here we'll be having some cathode. We have a cathode here. So now we can see that this is the gap A. It is being called as a gap A, and this is being called as a gap B. And you can observe that. So whenever the input is being given, this is RF input, which is to be amplified, is being given here. So when RF input is being given, the electron beam which is being produced or generated by this cathode, it gets interacted with the RF input. You can see this. This is nothing but the interaction gap. This is nothing but the interaction gap where RF field is being interacted with the electron beam, due to which the velocity of the electrons will be keep on changing its velocity. One will be accelerated, one will be reference one will be decelerated. Because of that, they form a bunch because of different in its velocities as they are moving into the tube. This is nothing but the drift space. Within this drift space, till it moves to the another gap B, the bunches starts forming here. And these bunches are taken as an output, and it is being taken as an RF output. So this is an amplification which has been generally occurring. That is by making use of two cavity. But coming to the reflex klystron, whatever we have, you can remember that we have made use of only one cavity. So we have only one cavity over here. So this is the anode cavity to take the output. Output is being taken over here. And this is the space of the tube, and this is an anode cavity. So where we have the tube over here, and here we have a repeller. A repeller has been connected over here. Okay. So when this repeller is being connected, and once again we have a cathode. It generates the electron beam. Okay. So here also we have, this is the gap. Okay. So in this particular gap, the RF input which is being given by this particular cavity. So where the electron beam is being interacted with this RF input, whatever it is being given. So it is nothing but it is also the interaction gap. And with this interaction gap, you can observe that almost all in case of two cavity and reflex klystron, the interaction process, it will be a very less movement. It takes a very small amount of time where the electron beam is interacted with the RF input so that the bunches is being formed. Because of this less amount of time, it has to interact both the supplies. Then formation of bunches is also restricted to a certain level. Okay, because the interaction time has been less, so that formation of bunches is also less. Then amplification which is produced will be also to some limited value. Okay, so for that, I'm extending. Okay, I'm increasing the interaction gap, which can be done using this particular tube which we are about to discuss. So we can increase the interaction gap in such a way that when we increase the interaction gap, then the effect of the electron beam and RF voltage interaction will be more. So more amount of time they spend in interaction, due to which the formation of bunches is also increased accordingly. Please do remember, and it's been very important sentence which have been repeated just now. In case of two cavity and reflex klystron, the interaction time has been very less between the electron beam and the RF input, so that the formation to produce the electron bunches is also limited. Okay, a less number of bunches will be formed, so thereby producing the output which is been some limited value. Okay, but in the case of traveling wave tube, the interaction gap will be very high. Okay, so there is the more amount of time it is being provided. In case of traveling wave tube, to electron beam, it can interact to RF input to a larger amount of time. So more amount of time is being spent in the interaction, then more amount of amplification is being resulted. Okay, so that's what it is being achieved in case of non-resonant circuit, that is traveling wave tube. Okay, so please do remember it's in a non-resonant circuit, and I have explained what is meant by resonant and non-resonant circuits. Okay, to limit the circuits to operate in a particular frequency without any disturbance in that, and to maintain a standard gain width product, we are making use of resonant, non-resonant circuits. Okay, and this is nothing but the helix traveling wave tube. So that's what this is, the clarity I'm giving it. What is the difference between the previous two and this present traveling wave tube? So the more amount of interaction time is being provided for the case of traveling wave tube, so that it increases it's the bunching capacity, so that the amplification will takes place rapidly. So that I have told you that exponential, the increase in the amplification will be in exponential in nature. Okay, so that's what the major difference we have, so that we get a higher outputs in case of traveling wave tube compared to two cavity and reflex klystron. Okay, now we'll see what is this helix. Okay, why it is being used. And coming to the case of helix, as I have told that these are considered to be slow wave structures. These are considered to be slow wave structures. Okay, so just now I have explained that the interaction time will be more for the case of traveling wave tube. In order to maintain, okay, in order to maintain a long gap or long interaction time, so we'll be making use of this slow wave structures. This is the important functionality of slow wave structures. With the help of these structures, the interaction time will be increased a lot. It can be increased a lot. More amount of interaction time can be made by making use of this slow wave structures. Okay, we'll see what is this slow wave structures and why we have different types of this slow wave structures. Okay, and now coming to the case of the structures where it is being used. Okay, so first let me proceed. What are the different shapes of slow wave structures we have? Then we'll see why and where it is being used in the tube. Okay, why I have told you just now, by using this slow wave structures in the tube, okay, in the traveling wave tube, where we can increase the interaction time. As the interaction time increased, the formation of bunches is also increased here. As the formation of bunches increases, the amplification is being increased, and thereby there will be exponential increase of amplification. It is being taking place in case of traveling wave tube. Am I clear? Are you following? Are you following? For H7. For H7, are you following this concept? What I have explained just now?
Yes, sir. Sir, can you again come through the points?
Which point? And
A brief view about that topic, sir.
okay, fine. Now, as I have told initially, so for the fourth unit, we have two types of tubes, where O-type tubes we are discussing, and M-type tubes also is discussed in the fourth unit. So now, in the case of first half part, we'll be discussing about O-types, which has been continuation to the third unit. But whereas in the second half, we'll be making use of M-type tubes. Okay, and here we have previously worked on the two cavity and reflex klystron as those are resonant circuits because we need to maintain a standard operating frequency, standard operating frequency to be maintained, so that the gain bandwidth product is also to be some stable value. Okay, we should get in some the maximum stable value. So maximum value should record. So beyond that, it should not fluctuate the value of gain bandwidth product. If there is any changes it occurs, then the operating frequency of these resonant circuits may affect. If the frequency varies, then it affects the output. The amplification is also affected. Okay. So for that, we have to avoid to provide the resonant property. To maintain the resonant circuit, we'll be making use of cavities, and we'll be making use of cavities in both the cases. We use two cavity, buncher and catcher cavity, and in case of reflex piston, we'll be making use of anode cavities. So cavities are made use to maintain the two tubes as a resonant circuit to get a standard gain bandwidth product value. Okay, and it has been found that there might be a chances of changing this gain bandwidth product, which affects the resonant circuits. Thereby, it affects the amplification. So, in order to avoid that, we have to make use of a fixed characteristics. Okay, fixed operating frequency. To a certain extent, a maximum extent, to maintain a standard operating frequency, we have to make use of the cavities at some regular intervals. What is the space to be provided? What should be the drift space value, distance, and what should be the length of the repeller space? So each and every concept will matter a lot to maintain throughout its operation to be as resonant circuit. So that was a greater problem or limitation we have in case of resonant circuits. So this may have some fluctuations. So we have to avoid these fluctuations, and that can be avoided by making use of non-resonant circuits. Okay, so where to achieve this non-resonant circuits, we can maintain a stable gain bandwidth product where there will not be any fluctuating values in operating frequency. Okay, so in order to maintain that standard operating frequency, instead of cavities, we are making use of slow wave structures. Okay, that is the major difference we have. In two cases, we have made use of cavities, but in the case of to maintain a non-resonant circuit, we will be making use of slow wave structures. Okay, so this will make it as a non-resonant circuits and thereby responsible to amplify the signal to the maximum extent. Okay, so that we have extended our discussion to traveling wave tube. Helix traveling wave tube is the first topic of the unit 4, the first half part, which we are about to discuss. Okay, and it has been found that it provides a gradual increase in its amplification, that in the nature of exponential. It increases its amplification in exponential in nature. Okay, so that's what we are going to discuss, how it provides the exponential increase in its amplification. What is being meant by the traveling wave tube, why it is being named as traveling wave tube, and why this slow wave structure is being taken as helix in structure. Okay, so before going that, the reason I am specifying that how it provides the exponential increase in amplification, that is being done by using these two types of tubes, where in case of two cavities, as there are two cavities here, buncher cavity and catcher cavity, so that it is being named as two cavity klystron amplifier. And here we have a reflex klystron, only one anode cavity we have, so that it is being called a single cavity reflex klystron. And you can observe that in both the cases. So this is the interaction gap which is being provided for two cavity and reflex klystron. Also we have a small interaction gap. Okay, during this particular time interval only, the RF input is being interacted with the electron beam, thereby it forms a bunch. So forming of this bunch will be taken as an output, and that leads to the amplification. Okay, so that's what it is being done in both the cases. And we have seen that In this case, we have found 58% the efficiency is being recorded in the case of two cavity, and just 22% has been recorded in the case of reflex piston. Okay, we're forming a the bunches. The amplification is this is the efficiency which is been recorded. Now, to increase the efficiency or to increase the amplification, so we are willing to increase the interaction gap, and we have to increase this interaction gap. With more the time the RF input is being interacted with the electron beam, more amount of amplification, more amount of forming of bunches will be resulted, then more amount of output can be taken out. So that's what the amplification which is been achieved will be a exponential in nature. Now we have to see how this interaction gap can be increased. Okay, this interaction gap can be increased by making use of slow wave structures. Okay, so with the help of slow wave structures, we can increase the interaction gap between electron beam and RF input. We'll see how it is being done. So before proceeding to the increase in interaction gap, so let me discuss what are these slow wave structures and what are the shapes it can provide. Okay, so it is being given as a standard structure of helix, and apart from that, is it any possibility to have other structures also? What happens if we use other structures, and how many ways we can get these slow wave structures? Okay, so let me give the slow wave structures in whatever the ways it is being available. And for that, so within a minute or two, the class is going to end. Please join back. More than 40, it should record once again, so that I'm going to explain what are the different types of slow wave structures we have, and which is the slow wave structure we are using, and how we can increase the interaction time using these slow wave structures. We are about to discuss in the next half once you rejoin back after this break. Okay, just within a minute you have to come back, so that we'll proceed our discussion to the shapes of slow wave structures. You know, what are the different shapes we have, and how many ways it can produce the slow wave structures. Now, how it has been helpful to increase the interaction gap. Okay, that's what